I don't know what the heck we're going to talk about. Okay, when I first came to MDRT, which was 42 years ago, were any of you in the business 42 years ago? Were any of you born 42 years ago? Okay, 3 of you. Okay. I came to MDRT and people were talking about the formula 10-3-1. And I said, what is this 10-3-1 formula? And they said, you see 10 people, 3 of them, if you call on 10 people, 3 of them will let you complete a fact find, let you complete a presentation, and 1 of them will buy from you. And they talked about this as if this was how our career was supposed to be. That we were forever to spend our working lives finding 10 people, 3 of them would actually talk to us and we'd make a sale. And I thought that's not how I want to spend my life. So what I want to try to do in the limited time we have is just give you some of the ideas, some of the discoveries that I made that allowed me to go from that 10-3-1 to 10-9-8. Find 10 people, 9 of them will talk to us and 8 of them will buy from us. Okay? Now there is no translation, so I assume everybody understands English? Yes. Okay? Okay, and please feel free if you have a question to ask it at any point you want to ask the question, because otherwise I'll be finished in about 5 minutes. Okay. What is it that we have to do to move us from this 10-3-1 so that we can start to do business with far more of the people we see? What is the most important thing we do in any kind of relationship? We create trust. It's very interesting that we're all taught by insurance companies about a sales process. We never taught about the buying process. And the buying process, what's going on in our client's mind. The buying process looks like this. Step 1. Do or say something which causes the prospect to think, ooh, this sounds interesting. Step 2. Is there something in this for me? For me, the prospect. Ooh, this sounds interesting. Is there something in this for me? Step 3. Can I trust this person? Step 4. Does he or she have my best long-term interests at heart? So, we talk to a prospect, we do or say something that causes them to think, ooh, this sounds interesting. Is there something in this for me? Yes, there is. Can I trust this person? And we'll have a sale. If they can also answer this one, I think he or she has my long-term interests at heart, we will have the beginning of a... Is anybody awake? A relationship. Absolutely. Now, what is the hardest part of this? It's dealing with trust. The hardest question any of us ever have to answer in life is, can I trust this person? It is such a difficult question to answer that we prefer to push it away, not to deal with it. We were told as kids, don't take sweets from strangers. Don't talk to strange men, girls, you were told. Boys, we were told, don't talk to strange women. I'm 73 years of age. I'm still waiting for a strange woman to want to talk to me. Don't trust. Don't sign it till you've read it. Don't trust. So along comes the insurance advisor, and we're faced with this question: should I trust this person? And the easiest thing for us to do is not to answer it. If we make the decision, we think, in our subconscious, if we make the decision to trust this person and we're wrong, we'll feel foolish. It's easier to, I want to think it over. I'd like to talk to my uncle. I can't afford it. I'll talk to you, I'll let you know in the future. Do they really want to think it over? Do they really want to talk to their uncle? No, they don't want to deal with the question, should I trust this person? How do we get around the trust question? By seeing referrals. Why? Because when we talk to a referral, the referral assumes that the person who gave the referral has dealt with the trust issue. Now, let me illustrate the point, because this is so strong a point. If we grasp this, then it can have a dramatic effect on our production. So I'm going to tell you a true story. We needed some replacement windows in our house. We needed 3 windows, that's all. 3 new windows. We did not want the plastic stuff that is the modern trend. We wanted the proper good hardwood windows making to fit our house. Okay. My wife said a friend of hers from her Keep Fit class had just had some new windows. And the person, her friend, said that we like them, we're very happy with them. I said, okay, get the guy to come and see us. He came, he measured, he gave me a price. I said, okay, the job is yours. Did I ask to see his accounts? Did I ask for references? No. On the strength of the referral, I gave him the order. Now, a friend of mine bought a new house. Well, new for him. It was a... Would somebody go and tell them to clap quietly? He bought a new house. It was new for him, but it was a very old house. It needed a lot of repairs. He needed the whole house, all the windows replacing. This was a mammoth job. This was $100,000 window replacement order. He mentioned this to me. I said, well, we have 3 windows replaced. We're happy with them. He said, oh, let me have his name. The man went to see him, gave him a quotation. Right? It was the biggest order the window supplier had ever received. And my friend said, okay, the job is yours. The window man said, well, don't you want to think about it? He said, no, if you're good enough for Tony Gordon, he will have checked you out. He would have checked everything about your company. Right? So if he's checked you out, that's okay for me. The strength of the referral. Did I check him out? No. The strength of the referral. Would somebody go and tell him to speak more quietly? Okay, so we need referrals. Now, when do we ask for referrals?
All the time.
What? All the time. When is the best time to ask for a referral? Okay, first question. Who asks for referrals when we deliver policies? Okay, remember this. You do the mailman's work, you get the mailman's wage. Stop delivering policies. Put them in the mail. Don't ever deliver a policy. And look how much extra time it will give you to be selling more policies. Okay. But your manager said you have to deliver the policy because that's when you ask for referrals. No, we ask for referrals at the point of sale because we need to train our clients We need to train them to expect to give us referrals. And we have to do that when we have the greatest influence at the point of sale. So we have to think about referrals like this, because most insurance companies taught us there's a sales process. You start with a name and you work your way along, and hopefully you make a sale, and you go back to the office and somebody claps you on the back, and at the sales meeting on a Friday afternoon they give you a little cheer because you made a sale this week, and it's all over. And then you have to start again. It's wrong. Think of it like this. It is a cycle. It is not linear. It's a cycle. You get a name. You make the call. You have a meeting, appointment. You have a meeting. Maybe you need a second meeting. You make the sale. You get a name. Imagine this. This is the wheel of your bicycle. You leave any part out of this and you have a very uncomfortable ride. If you leave any part out of this, you might as well not ask for the sale. Don't ask for the check if you don't ask for the referral. If you were an agent, an advisor in my office, you come in and you say, I've just made the biggest sale of my life. I'd say, that's wonderful. How many referrals did you get? Ask for referrals. It's essential to ask for referrals. Now, how many referrals do we need? How many should we get? More than we need. We want to be in a position where we can be selective about who we go to see. If you need 5 appointments and you have 5 names, you'll call them all. If you need 5 appointments and you have 10 names, will you call the best prospects? Of course. We want to be able to cherry pick. If we get more referrals than we actually need, then eventually our average sale will start to rise as we start to select, to cherry pick the best of our prospects. Okay, so what are the steps to get well referred? First question is, are we referable? How do we make ourselves referable? Well, here's one way. Who has a client who has his own business? Of course, we all do. Do you think your client who has his own business, wants clients, needs new customers? So next time you're going to see one of your business owning clients, before you go, when you're looking at the file to see what you're going to talk to the client about, ask yourselves this question. Who can I refer to my client? Which of my other clients? Who do I know that I can refer to this client? Because if I refer to him, law of reciprocity, if we give, people are honor bound to give back. The law of reciprocity. We don't have to give very much. You only have to give a little, give a referral. How many of us are involved in our communities? Whether it's your church or your synagogue or some volunteer or it's the school. We start to be respected for having good judgment, being willing workers, and you will attract clients in your community to you. You won't even have to prospect them. They will come to you if you give your time in the community. Be referable. I'll tell you a story about the law of reciprocity. A few years ago, my wife and I were in Thailand. Anybody here from Thailand? Okay, one at the back. Okay, we were in Thailand on holiday. Now, shopkeepers in Thailand are very clever. The climate is a bit like Miami today. It's sort of hot and steamy and very humid, so they know to offer you a drink of water when you go into the shop. So clever negotiators like me know to refuse the drink of water, because then I'm not honor bound to consider buying from them. Except we went into one shop and we're looking at, and we didn't want to buy anything. We were just trying to get out of the rain and curious as to what we might see. And the shopkeeper, being different to all the others, said to us, "Hot, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "I've got some wonderful cardamom tea. It's very, very cooling. Would you try it and tell me what you think?" Well, I can tell you, we bought all kinds of stuff we didn't want. Law of reciprocity, give a little and your clients will give back to you. Okay, so how do we ask for referrals? Well, I've got all kinds of referral ideas. Okay, so let's do just some basics. But is this still on? Whoa! Hello? Hello? We're off. It's gone off. It's on? Is it back on? Okay. Do I have to fix everything here? Okay. All right, here's the first suggestion. When you go to see a new prospect, start off by saying something like this to your prospect. "I would like to tell you the difference between my firm, my company, and others out there. Not our competitors, we don't acknowledge we have competition. I'd like to tell you the difference between my company and others out there. Most people in financial services spend most of their time looking for people to do business with. It leaves very little time to look after their clients. In my firm, we are the opposite. We spend most of our time looking after our clients, very little of our time looking for new clients. You may wonder how we're able to do this. It's very simple. We only take on as clients people to whom we are personally recommended or to whom we're personally introduced. But enough about my company. I'd like to ask you some questions about you, if I may, in confidence. Is this still on? It sounds good. Yes, we good? Okay. Now, and then move into your soft facts, the kind of questions, tell me about yourself, tell me about your business, so on. Now, what have we just done in that little, I call it the preamble? Firstly, we have sown the seed that we expect to be referred. It will not come as a surprise if in a couple of hours' time we actually ask for a referral. The second thing we've done is we've created a differentiator between ourselves and anybody else in the business. Now, I have to tell you, we never know what it is that actually clinches the sale. It isn't some great big thing. It's a lot of little subtle things that help make the sale. And this might be one extra little subtle help that we've given ourselves just by telling the client, the prospect, that we are different to the others. So now I've completed the business, whether it's taken one meeting or two meetings, whatever. Business has been completed. And now I'm going to say, Sergio, he's my new client. Sergio, you remember when we first met a couple of weeks ago? Yes, he says. Sergio, don't worry, I'll help you, you know. Okay, and I do the funny stuff, okay? Okay. Sergio, you remember when we first met a couple of weeks ago? You'll remember I told you the difference between my firm and others out there. Remember I said that most people in my field spend most of their time looking for new business, new prospects. They spend very little of their time, Sergio, looking after the clients they have. And you'll recall I said that we are the opposite. We spend most of our time looking after our clients, very little of our time looking for new clients. And you'll recall, Sergio, that I told you we're able to do this because we only take on as clients people to whom we're personally introduced, to whom we personally referred. And Sergio, I'm only interested in meeting people I can get on well with, Sergio, in the same way you and I have got on so well together. Now, Sergio, I'm really interested in meeting people who run their own small business, or who may have capital, or who have a young family. We have to tell Sergio the sort of prospects we want. If you want business owners, tell him. If you want young families, tell him. If you want older people who may have some capital, tell him. So Sergio, who do you know who runs his own small business? George. Okay. Tell me, what does George do, Sergio? Okay. He sounds like the sort of person I would like to meet. Sergio, you don't mind if I mention your name when I call him, do you? No, he says. Okay, now he might say, oh yes, I don't want you to mention my name. In which case I would say, Sergio, I have been doing this job for a long time. And I have only for years ever seen people to whom I'm personally referred, personally introduced. And I have never, ever embarrassed a client by mentioning their name. And I assure you, you will not be the first. Is that okay, Sergio? Yes, he said, it's okay. Now I'm going to phone up George. George, this is Tony Gordon here. Does my name ring a bell? No, he says. Oh dear, I am embarrassed. Now, am I embarrassed? I do this for a living. Of course I'm not embarrassed. But it might get a little bit of sympathy, and so he will let me continue. George, it's Tony Gordon here. Does my name ring a bell? No, he says. Oh dear, I am embarrassed. You know Sergio, don't you? Yes, he says. Sergio's been a client of mine for some time. When I was talking with him the other day, he mentioned your name to me. In fact, George, he spoke quite highly of you. Why do I say that? Because now he'll shut up and wait to see if there are any more compliments coming. George, Sergio seems to think that one or two of the things we do might be of benefit to you. Now, I don't know if there is anything we do that will be of any interest to you at all. But as Sergio was insistent, I'd like to stop by, spend 15 or 20 minutes with you, introduce myself, run through the things we do, and you can tell me if there's anything of interest. Now, George, I'll be passing your door on Monday afternoon at 2, or would you prefer Wednesday morning at 10? If you don't close, he won't say yes. Now, George, of course, may give me an objection. Think of a real objection. Okay. What's it all about? Is what he'll say. What's it all about? Come on, I'm helping you here, George. What's it all about? He says. Oh, of course, I'm sorry. Sergio hasn't told you about me. We're in the financial business, George. We advise our clients on ideas for putting money to work. Many of our ideas are very tax efficient. I'm sure, George, like all of my other clients, you would agree tax is something better not talked about on the telephone. Yes, he says. Now, would Monday afternoon at 2 be convenient, or would you prefer Wednesday morning at 10? You have to keep closing. Well, I have an accountant who advises me on my tax, he says. Of course you do, George. I wouldn't want to meet with you unless I thought you were getting good tax advice already. Is Monday afternoon at 2, or would you prefer Wednesday at 10? Well, if it's savings, I have somebody who advises me. Of course you do, George. I wouldn't want to meet with you unless I thought that your basic needs had already been dealt with. Is Monday afternoon at 2 convenient, or would you prefer... The work we do, George, sits above the tax advice given by your accountant. The work we do sits above the life insurance advice given by the average insurance advisor. The work we do sits above the investment advice given by the normal advisor. Now, would Monday afternoon can be convenient for you, or would you prefer Wednesday morning? Anybody counted the closes? How many? 5, 4 or 5? 5 so far. But now, what is the most important thing here? Firstly, I used his name. When I was speaking on the telephone, I kept using his name 4 or 5 times. I kept using Sergio's name, the referrer, 4 or 5 times. Okay, and I kept closing. If you use what I have just told you, if you close 3 times, you will get 6 or 7 appointments out of 10 calls. You close 4 times, you will get 7 or 8 appointments out of 10 calls. If you close 5 times, you'll get the lot. So you have to keep closing. Now, of course, his ultimate objection is, of course, well, you'll probably be wasting your time. To which I would reply, that's quite likely, George. That's why I'm only allocating 20 minutes for the first meeting. Now, did I ever disagree with you? No. I was trained by an insurance company. All of the prospecting was filled with conflict. How do you know you won't be interested? All the other greengrocers in town are interested in what I'm doing. No. Take the conflict out of prospecting. All I did was agree with you and take the attitude that what we do sits above the work of the average individual, and that will get us there. So now we have the appointment. Now, here's some other ideas for getting referrals. Firstly, do our clients know we want referrals? Who sends letters to clients? And those of you who've been delivering policies will soon be sending letters when they start to mail the policies. Okay, if you send a letter, put a PS on the bottom. If you send an email, every email that leaves your desk should have a footer on the bottom that says something like, "We grow by referral." I would appreciate being introduced to family members, business colleagues or friends who you feel might benefit from my advice. Does this get referrals? Not necessarily, but it creates an environment where your clients realize that we expect to be referred. Keep reminding them. That's what it does. So put that footer, and by the way, if it's a footer on an email, put it just under your name, above that massive paragraph where the insurance company says we take no responsibility for anything that our advisor has said to you. Above all the compliance nonsense. Okay. If you have a client who doesn't give you referrals, go and see that client and say, "I have a question for you. Why have you kept me a secret?" They'll say, "What do you mean?" "Well, we only take on as clients people to whom we personally introduced, personally referred, and you're the only client who's never referred me to anybody, and I wondered why you've kept me a secret." They'll say, "Well, I didn't know, because that's probably the client that we forgot to ask." So if they say, "Oh, I didn't know, so I'm sorry, that must be my fault," and you go into your referral presentation, "Why have you kept me a secret?" We should be telling clients, "Please don't keep me a secret. Don't keep me to yourself. Please don't keep me a secret." Okay, when you're talking to clients and asking for referrals, people know lots of people. Some are poorer than them, some are wealthier than them. So don't ask who they know, ask who they respect. Because we tend to respect people who are doing a little better than we are. So ask who they respect. And that way we will get referred to people upwards who are wealthier than they are. Okay, is this making sense? Everybody, is this good stuff or what? Or shall I go for lunch? Shall I keep going? Okay, I'll keep going. Okay, you want to be referred either to the children of elderly clients or to the parents of younger clients. This is how to do it. Say to your client, we find those clients who get the best value from us are where we don't act for our client in isolation, but where we act for the whole family. I would like to meet your mother. I'd like to meet your parents. I'd like to meet your children. Why do you want to meet my parents? Because we find we can usually get a higher rate of return for our older clients on their savings. And if we can get a higher rate of return for your parents, well, they'll have a better standard of living. They'll be less likely to need your help in the event of financial help in the event of needing care. And when their time does come, there'll be more for you and your family to inherit. Would you introduce me to your mum? Now, if you think about that, 2 of the 3 reasons were actually not for the mum. She'll have a higher standard of living. You won't have to help her out financially when she needs care, and you and your kids will inherit more. Would you introduce me to your mother? You bet he will. Will you introduce me to your children? Why? Same reason. We can usually help the younger generation secure themselves and their families better than our competitors are doing. If we can help your children create security at lower cost or greater security, they'll be less likely to ever come back home for help from you. Will you introduce me to your children? Will you introduce me? Okay. Another idea. Now, I don't know how things work legally in your jurisdiction, but how many of you live in countries where people make wills? Okay, most people, okay. And in your countries where they make wills, do they have to name people as executors? Is this something we all understand? It's the people who are eventually going to have the responsibility of dealing with everything when somebody dies. Okay, now, what I suggest we do is we ask our client, do you have a will? Yes or no, you should have a will. Encourage clients to make a will, okay? And ask them, who are your executors? In my country, they need at least 2 executors. Now, it's always people they trust. Now we have to say something very important, okay? And that is, we have to remind our client, anything you and I have ever discussed will always be in confidence, but I would like to speak to your executors. Now, why is it important we remind them it's in confidence? My executors are my 2 daughters, okay? One of them, if she knew how much she was going to inherit, would worry between now and my death because she feels she doesn't deserve it if she hasn't earned it. My other daughter, on the other hand, would kill me tomorrow to get hold of the money. So it's important we say anything we've discussed will always be in confidence. I would like to speak to your executors. Why? I want to give them this. What is this? It is a blank letter that says, "Dear," blank space. "This firm acts as financial advisor to," blank space. At a recent discussion of their affairs, they mentioned you are one of the executors of their estate. We all hope your services will not be called on for many years. But when you do eventually have to fulfill your responsibilities, It is most important that investments are encashed in the most efficient manner to maximize gains and to minimize charges and tax. Part of my firm's responsibilities is to ensure this happens as efficiently as possible. The purpose of this letter is therefore to let you know we will be here to assist when the time comes. Please keep this letter with your other important documents so you have our contact details to hand when they are finally needed. If you want a copy of this, email tg@tonygordon.biz, B-I-Z, and ask for the executor's letter and we will send it to you. tg@tonygordon.biz. Now, you show that to the client. I want to give this to your executor. Will your client be impressed? You bet. We're just volunteering to look after him not only up to his death, but even afterwards. This is powerful stuff. So, oh yes, of course you can give that to my executor. Now you actually complete the letter. Dear George, we act as financial advisor to Sergio. You complete the letter. Now you phone up the executor and you say, this is Tony Gordon here. You don't know me, but I act as financial advisor to Sergio. He's mentioned that you are one of his executors. There is an important document that I want to hand to you. When can I call in for 5 minutes? Are they going to argue? Of course not. Now you're with the executor, somebody your client trusts. You're with the executor, you hand them the letter and they read it and they think, gosh, this is good. They're going to take a lot of the responsibility off me when Sergio turns his toes up. They read it and you say, please keep this in a safe place so you will know how to contact us. Now, we're now in front of somebody under very favorable circumstances. It's now left to us to turn this into a prospect. So George, I'll say, I assume this is no different to the service that you get from your financial advisor, to which you'll say, oh, I haven't got a financial advisor. Or, well, no one ever promised to do that. George, I did not come to talk about your affairs. But if you would like, I'd be happy to set aside a time in the future, 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes, and have a quick, I'll just explain to you the sort of things that we've done for Sergio and see if there's anything there of interest to you. Do you think I can turn George into a prospect at this point? You bet, when I've shown him this. Is this good stuff or what? Yes. Okay, 3 of you think it is? Okay. It'll be very interesting to see how many of you email me for a copy of it. Okay, next idea. I do have a couple of copies, you may be able to take one now. Okay, next idea. If you're a bit short of prospects, make a list of your best 20 clients. 20 is a totally arbitrary number. It could just as easily be 10 or 30. Right, but make a list of your best clients. This is an exercise for the next 4 or 5 or 6 weeks. And then call your client. And what I'm going to say is, Sergio, I think there is a small favor you can do for me. I would like to buy you lunch one day next week, and I promise I am not going to talk about your life insurance or your savings or your retirement plan or whatever business Sergio has. Which day will be best for you, Sergio? Now, will Sergio see me?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Number one is one of my top clients. I had a client who used to phone me up regularly and say, please can I come and visit my money? Right. One of our best clients will always see us. That's number one. Number two, I promised I wasn't going to sell him anything, didn't I?
Yes.
I promised I'm not going to talk to you about your life insurance, your retirement plan. Right. Number three, I offered him hospitality. I'd like to buy you lunch one day. And 4, I paid Sergio the biggest compliment we ever pay another human being. I said, I think there may be a small favor you can do for me. Which day is best for you? He'll say, come on Tuesday, that's fine. I'll bring you a sandwich. What do you like in your sandwich? When I say I'm going to buy somebody lunch, it is very cheap. Right. They'll get a sandwich, but don't just take a sandwich. Take a bunch of grapes. Why? Because he can send his secretary out to buy a sandwich for him. She doesn't bring grapes. But there's a much more important reason. With a bunch of grapes sitting in the middle of Sergio's desk or table, or if it's in my office sitting on my table, as long as I am reaching out occasionally and taking a grape and eating it, I'm in control of the meeting. The meeting doesn't end until the grapes are finished or until I stop eating them. And I know it's silly, but he controls the meeting. Okay, now what am I going to say? Sergio, I have some great clients, but I don't have enough clients in the area of business, the profession, the sort of community that you mix with. So Sergio, here's the favor you can do for me. If you were starting in my business today, Sergio, who would you call on first? Now, is Sergio going to think of the poorest person he knows? No, he's going to think of the wealthiest or the most successful person he knows. And then who would you call on after that, Sergio? And then who would be the third? If we did this with our top 20 clients, we will get an average of 2 referrals from each client. With 2 referrals from each client, times 20, that's 40 referrals. That's a month's activity, isn't it? For some of you, it's 2 months' activity. Okay, is that a good idea?
Yes.
Yeah, you bet it is. Okay, anybody here use LinkedIn? Okay, join LinkedIn. Okay, invite your clients to connect to you on LinkedIn. Once they've connected to you, you can see all the other people that they're connected to. Take a look at the list of their connections, and next time you go to see the client, say to them, I was looking at the people you're connected to on LinkedIn, and by coincidence, 3 of them are on the list of people I want to contact. What can you tell me about these 3 people? Obviously, anything you and I have ever discussed, Sergio, will always be in absolute confidence, but you don't mind me mentioning that you're a client of mine, do you? And we've just created a referral without actually having to ask. In fact, we've just created 3 referrals without having to ask for them. I gave this idea to an advisor that I mentor, and he came back to see me 3 months later. I said, well, did it work? He said, yeah, it worked. I said, well, how many times did you do it? He said, well, I tried it once and it worked. I said, why didn't you try it again? He said, no, he said, it worked so well that the next time what I did was just print out the list of people they're connected to. I put the list in front of my client. Right? I said, here is the list of people you're connected to on LinkedIn. Here's a highlighter. Please highlight the people you think I should contact. I said, what did they do? He said, he did it. He did it. So, use LinkedIn. Okay. Anybody here use an agenda for meetings with clients? Okay. It's a good idea using an agenda. But here's a suggestion. When you print your agenda, leave a big space at the top. Okay? A big space between the word agenda and your first item. Okay, and don't have any other business. Okay, and then you can say to your client, you get the agenda out, you put it on the client's desk or your desk, and you say to your client, I've put together an agenda here for our meeting, but before we begin, is there anything that you particularly want to talk to me about? In other words, you're getting the any other business first. And then if he says, well, yeah, I would actually like to talk about some money we've inherited from my mother, or I've had a promotion and I could like to talk about insuring my wife, or whatever, you write that in the big space first, because what the client most wants to talk about is what they will most easily both want and buy. So that becomes your first item above your number one. Okay? Everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay. Now we get to the end of the agenda. What's the last item? The last item is words like value discussion or service discussion. Okay? And then you can ask a question. I just would like to ask you your opinion of the quality of advice, the quality of service that my firm, that I have given you. Now, you're not going to ask that of a client you know hates you. Okay? So your client is not going to be nasty to you. Your client is going to say, well, yeah, I think your advice has been great. Thank you very much. I am pleased to hear you say that. Would you think about people that you know, or could we spend a few minutes just brainstorming about the people that you might know that I might like to have as clients, or that might benefit from the quality of my advice? Your client who has just said, I think your service has been terrific, is not actually going to say, no, I won't spend a couple of minutes brainstorming about the sort of people I know that you might like to have as clients. Okay. Okay, have I given you enough ideas for referrals? Yeah, okay, because I haven't got any more. Okay, now, that's only part of getting from 1031, okay, to 1098. Okay, so what's the next step? The next step is that we have to be focused, absolutely focused. So, we have to split our time between planning time and selling time, because this will keep us focused. On a selling day, we can see people face to face, and we can call prospects to make appointments. On a planning day, we can call prospects and we can do all the other stuff that has to be done, the preparation or the processing of business. Now, if we can separate our time, it helps keep us focused. I always worked on the basis of I'd be selling Monday to Thursday, my planning day was Friday. You have to figure out for yourself how many planning days you need in proportion to selling days. Some people I know need 2 planning days every week. Some get by with less. You have to figure it out, but whatever we do, try to be focused on exactly what it is you're doing. So some days you are planning and making sure everything is dealt with properly, and that you're fully appointed for next week, and some days you're focused on selling, and if you have any spare time, you'll be calling to make more appointments. Separate out your days. I always like to have a planning day on a Friday, because if I hadn't filled my diary for the following week, I wasn't going home on Friday until it was filled. The only discipline I ever needed was don't go home on Friday until I had my 15 appointments for the following week. Now, this is a very basic idea, far too basic for MDR team members. Any core to the table members here? Okay, any top of the table members here? Okay, well this is much too basic for you, but it works. If, like me, you decide that your planning day is Friday, take a little shorthand pad, keep it on your desk, and that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then you decide how many appointments you want, and you decide what time you want them, so that you're not at the beck and call of clients or prospects there at your beck and call. My timing would be 10, 12, 2, 4, 10, 12, 2, 4, and so on. And down this side I would put 15, 14, 13, 12, all the way down to 0. And as I got an appointment, I would cross off, and my only discipline was I had to be crossed off all the way down to 0 before I could go home for the weekend. And some Fridays I would go home early, and some Fridays I would be expected late. But I would always have my 15 appointments. Okay. Now, the next lesson in getting from 1031 to 1098 is stop selling. Stop selling to clients and start helping them to buy. This is a real fundamental shift. We often go to a prospect because we want to sell them something. Obviously they have a need, they don't have any life insurance, they should have. So what we do is we tell them, you need a life insurance policy. Well, hang on a minute, I was perfectly okay this morning before I met you. Don't tell me what I need. Stop selling to people. Start helping them to buy. How do we do it? We do it very simply by asking what it is people want. What do you want for your family as income in the event of your untimely death? What do you want as income for yourself when you don't want to work anymore? What do you want as income in the event of diagnosis of a life-threatening illness? If you do investment business, what do you want from your capital? Not, oh, you've got some capital, you need one of these. No, what do you want your capital to do? Now, what's the difference? The difference is very tiny, very subtle. But when we tell somebody what they need, we are selling to them. When we find out what it is they want, we are helping them to buy. There's a very small, subtle difference. So, find out what it is they want. Now, let's do this in a presentation. Okay, for which I need a volunteer. Okay, you'll do. What's your name? Federico, how good's your English? Okay, his English is good. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions, Federico. You are allowed to lie if you feel the need to impress your colleague. Okay. Federico, how much do you earn? Here's the first lie coming now. You make it a nice round number, Federico. What do you mean $1 million a year? Well, no, you haven't got a white ribbon. Come on, how much do you earn? Make it something like a real life prospect would have. $100,000, okay. Federico, you earn $100,000 a year. Okay, now, are we going to talk about life insurance? We're going to talk about retirement, okay? Federico, when you don't want to work anymore, what do you want to have as income? He says he wants the same $100,000. They always do. They say the same. If I do a need presentation on Federico, well, your mortgage will be paid off, your kids will have left home, you won't need 2 cars, you only need 1. It'll come out at half of this. But he said he wants the same. And we can tell our prospects, Federico, let me tell you, let me ask you, when do you spend most money? Monday to Friday when you're working, or weekends and when you're on vacation? Very, very powerful question. Did you all hear it? Yes. Okay. When do you spend most money? Weekends and on vacation, of course, he says. Right. So in fact, the day that you retire, Federico, you're going to take a permanent long weekend. You're going to walk out and never come back. We don't need less money in retirement. We need more money. So Federico says he would like $100,000 a year, the same as his current income. Next question, Federico, would you want this to reduce each year, or would you want it to keep pace with inflation? Keep pace with inflation, he says. Now, Federico, this is what's going to happen when you retire. There'll be a big pot. It'll be full of money. Doesn't matter where the money comes from. We put a tap, I think you Americans call it a faucet. We put a tap on the side of the pot. We want to be able to turn on the tap and out will come $100,000 a year, which is what you said you wanted, didn't you? Yes, he says. Now, Federico, we don't advise our retired clients to ever take an income of more than 5% of what's in their pot. We'll make you more than 5%, but it's important that 2 or 3 or 4% gets added back to the pot every year, so this will keep pace with inflation, which is what you said you wanted, didn't you? Yes, he says. And now I'll say to the client, so Federico, if 5% is the income you're going to take from the pot, what do you want in your pot? Now, most clients will struggle a bit here. If you're brave, hand them the calculator. If you use those little credit card size calculators, throw it away and get a big calculator, because rich people have fat fingers. If you're brave enough, you'll say, work it out. There's the calculator, Federico. Okay, enter there. 100,000. Yes, that's enough noughts. Divide by 100, multiply by 5, or whatever the thing. Divide by 5, multiply by 100. What's the number? I'll help you. It's 2 million. Okay, Sir Federico. Now, I haven't told him what he needs yet, have I? I've asked him what he wants. He keeps saying, yes, I want, yes, I want, yes, I want. So what you want is 2 million in the pot to give you the income you want for yourself. Okay, Federico, help me here. Where's the 2 million going to come from? Now, I must have asked that question 1,000 times. I only ever had 2 answers. Either, I don't know, maybe you've got some ideas, or perhaps you can help me. If they say I don't know, say, well, look, if I could come up with some ideas, would you want to take a look at them? Yes, of course they would. Now, the whole sale is made on the very simple principle, that's what he wants. Now, how old are you, Federico? Right, he's got 35 years, it's not as bad as it sounds. He's got 35 years to create $2 million. It's not the end of the world. It's doable. Of course, once he's a client, I'll remind him that $100,000 today, he'll want more by the time he gets there. But what have I done? I've given Federico a target, a goal to aim at, which is twice as big as if I'd done a needs presentation. What people want will always be greater than just their needs. Now, it's not difficult, is it, to see how this would work if it were not done on a needs basis, not done on a retirement basis, but done on a life insurance basis. What income would you want for your family in the event of your untimely death? $100,000 a year. This is what's going to happen. On your death, we'll have a pot full of money. We put a tap on the side. We want to be able to turn on the tap so your family will get $100,000, which you said you'd like to keep pace with inflation. We don't advise our widow clients to take more than 5% a year as income from their pot. What's 5%? What do you have to have in the pot if 100,000 represents you need $2 million of life insurance? How much have you got? Okay, is this good stuff or what? Yes, okay. Whew. I'm exhausted up here. Okay. I have no idea how long we've been going. We've got to stop at some point. Okay, we've got a few minutes. Okay, questions. If you have questions for me, now is a good time to ask them. Okay, question here. Shout it and then I'll shout it so everybody can hear it. Can't hear you. Come around here. Okay. Okay. Any other next question while we wait? Okay. Hi.
If you have a phone call, I always heard that people say no 2 times.
Yeah.
You stop the call and you don't keep insisting. You say all the time, keep closing, but when did you stop?
Okay. Okay, the question is, when you make the phone call to the referral, this young lady has been told that if they say no twice, put the phone down. They don't say no. Think about the words I used. What I said was, George, Tony Gordon here, does my name ring a bell? No, he says, oh dear, I am embarrassed. Get a bit of sympathy. George, you know Sergio, don't you? Yes, he says. Sergio's been a client of mine for some time. When I was talking with him the other day, he mentioned your name to me, George. In fact, he spoke highly of you. George, Sergio thinks that 1 or 2 of the things we do might be of interest to you. Now, I don't know if there's anything we do which will be of any value to you at all. But as Sergio is insistent, next time I'm passing your door, I'd like to call in, spend 15, 20 minutes with you. I'll run through the things we do and you can tell me if there's anything of interest. I'll be in your area on Monday morning at 10, or would you rather Wednesday afternoon at 2? Which is better for you, George? What's it all about? Oh, well, I'm sorry you haven't had the opportunity to talk to Sergio. We advise our clients on ideas for putting money to work. Many of them are tax efficient. I'm sure, George, you would agree that tax is something best not talked about over the telephone, Monday morning or Wednesday afternoon. Well, if it's tax, I have all that looked after. Of course you do. I wouldn't want to talk with you unless I knew you were getting good basic tax advice. Would Monday morning suit you, or would you prefer Wednesday afternoon? He isn't saying no to me. The worst thing he can possibly say is, I think you'll be wasting your time. And my response to that is, that's quite likely. That's why I'm only setting aside 15 or 20 minutes for that first meeting. Would Monday morning or Wednesday afternoon suit? In other words, don't ever give in. If you remember what I said before, I said, you close 4 times, you're going to get 8 or 9 out of 10. You only close twice, you're only going to get 3 or 4 appointments out of 10. You want to move from 10-3-1 to 10-9-8. The first step is to get referrals. The second step is to use the right technique to get in front of the referrals. Okay, don't challenge them and don't feel you're being challenged. It's perfectly reasonable that I've suggested that maybe some tax might have some bearing on what we talk about. He says, I'm an accountant. Well, savings, I have an advisor who looks after all of my savings. Now, what most people do when he says that is that, oh dear, he's not a prospect, he's already got an advisor. No, of course you do. I wouldn't want to talk with you unless I thought you'd already got some good basic savings advice. The work we do sits above the work done by the average advisor. Would Monday morning be better for you? Would you prefer Wednesday afternoon? Would you rather come to my office or I'll come to yours? You have to keep closing. You keep coming back to that question. When? Mornings or afternoons? My place or your place? Keep coming. Every time you open your mouth, before you close it, you put another closing question in there. Right, and don't stop at 2. Keep going, keep going, keep going. The easiest business to do is always done with the people who are hardest to get in front of. They seem to use up all of their resistance in trying to stop us getting the appointment in the first place, so that when we actually get there, they have a whole bucket full of, well, I'll use the word needs, they have a whole bucket full of needs, right? And they know that, which is why they're resistant to the appointment, because they know somebody's going to come along and cause them to feel guilty about their lack of planning, and cause them to accept the fact that we all get older by 24 hours every day and become, except me, of course, and, right, and you know that they are mortal, and people don't like to be reminded of their own mortality, so they will try to put off letting us come to see them. But once we're there, the harder it was to get in front of them, the easier it is to do business. Okay, question at the back.
What are you reading?
I'm sorry?
What are you reading?
You have to come and tell me, I can't hear you. What am I reading? What do you mean, what am I reading? Comics. What am I reading? I'm not very good at reading self-help books. I like to read novels, but I read all the time. When I travel, like coming here, I've always got another book in case I don't like the movies on the plane and finish the book I'm reading. There's always a second book. I live in terror of running out of books to read. And no, I don't use a thingy, what do you call them? A Kindle. Somebody gave me a Kindle. I gave it to my secretary. I want a book to hold. So, okay.
Son romántico.
Okay, why do millionaires or billionaires buy insurance? They don't have a need because the millionaire or the billionaire is still going to be the billionaire whether
¿Qué pregunta tan
they
pendeja?
buy insurance from us or not. So, but it's a very, very good question. So let's just deal with that as a question. If I've asked you what you want, I assume if you're a millionaire or a billionaire, you have done it either by building your business, or you have a business, or you've invested in properties and things like that. I'm not going to tell you what you need, Sergio. I'm going to ask you what you want to have happen to your business in the future. What do you want to have happen in the future, Sergio? How do you see your business? Look, 2 questions. You have a client in business. This is how you open the client's mind. Question number 1, tell me how you got to where you are today. Tell me your success story. Question number two, where do you want your business to go in the future? Nobody's ever asked him how he got successful. And nobody's ever actually asked him what his hopes are for the future. So ask him, what do you hope for in the future? And he will tell me everything. Well, my son who's 12, but I hope one day my son will take over the business. Okay, that's wonderful. I hope he does. And you've built a great business, and if he's anything like you, he'll be just as good as you. But what if he's not as good as you, Sergio? What if he's not as good as you? Or what if he's no better than you? Do you realize, Sergio, that at the moment your business supports one family? It supports you very nicely, very well, but it supports one family. When your son takes over the business, he's got to be twice as good as you, because he's got to support 2 families, yours and your son's family. Now, I'm not suggesting he isn't that good, but why don't we take a little bit out of the business and create a fund on the side here that we can draw on just in case your son is not as good as you at running the business. Just in case. The same, whatever they want, well, I want to sell my business, that's terrific. What do you hope to get for it? And I'm sure if you keep going the way you're going, you will be that successful. But just in case, why don't we just take a little bit out of the business each month, each year? We'll create this fund on the side, just in case you don't have the time to build your business to the point where you can sell it. Just in case. You'll be able to draw on this fund. The worst thing that happens to you is you'll sell the business and you'll have the fund. Okay. Are you here to tell me to shut up? Okay. Thank you all very much. I've got to go over there and